know what the problem is, right? It's the fact that everybody thinks they've got it all figured out. But if we're being honest, in the short period of time I've been on this rock, there's one thing I've realized. We don't know shit. Anywho, so I'm going to get started with this again. I'll just bring you in like I did last time. All right, so we are back for round 2. We're here at the War Anniversary Show, and the last time I did this, and it was months ago, I had Aaron Williams with me, and we were discussing religion and all things weird and crazy and hypocritical that go along with it. And so, back again. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I just found out that my iPhone storage is full because I was gonna take a picture of us, but now I'm gonna have to delete stuff because I ain't got one of them fancy phones that you can get a lot of storage on.
Yeah, that's gonna be all the nudies, man. You gotta get one of those. So
guess probably got to get some of those first. Huh?
Hey, no judgment here.
Hey,
listen,
man,
the guy's got to make a living.
I
was just
good,
assuming that they were Patreon exclusive. So
I don't have any of them exclusive Patreons. Although I mean I don't know if you saw I'm considering doing a Patreon, but I don't want to show anybody my stuff. So is it pointless?
I don't know, man.
I'm asking you.
That seems to be the
overall
the route that most people take.
Yeah, it seems that way. And then again, unfortunately, let's be real. I'm a dude who really wants to hear what I have to say. Anyway. If you do, you can listen to this podcast that you're going to get for not $5 a month or whatever.
I was going to say not hear what you have to say necessarily, but maybe see what you're packing because we are talking Patreon. You know what? Hey, let's just keep it simple.
Let's keep it real.
Let's keep it simple. Just forget about Patreon. Just do a premium Snapchat. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
just
I ain't
make
got
them
it.
PayPal you $5 and jiggle your wiggle. You know what I mean?
I just ain't got it in me. I mean, I got it on me, but I don't have it in me. It's just not not a thing I can do.
I'll make sure I'm not drinking your water here.
No, this one's mine right here.
All right, cool.
We have our water separated. It's okay, everybody. Don't worry.
Okay, so Now, I had numerous people contact me because they were curious. They wanted to hear when we closed out the last episode.
Yeah.
You were talking about seeing somebody thrown across the room by a little girl.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we... what is going on?
Hola.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
I'm looking for a ladder.
There's one right there.
There's one right there. No worries.
We're not going to hold it against you. There's basketballs right there. It's going to make noise.
Okay.
Bump.
Yep.
Bump. There we go.
And for everybody listening at home, we are once again in a glorified closet surrounded by Chiquita banana boxes. No, I'm sorry.
Not as many.
They're Dole boxes. And they're currently setting up for the show, so that probably won't be the last interruption. But anyways, like I was saying, let's continue there. Let's jump off because a lot of people were upset that I stopped it there. Let's keep going. And why don't you tell that crazy sounding story?
Okay. If you want me to tell the whole story, it's pretty wild. I was going to this little church at the time, and I was knew a young lady there. I didn't know many people there, but I knew a few, and she had her dude with her, and I noticed that she kind of just disappeared at some point in time, and didn't know where she went. Eventually, as the service is kind of going on, her dude comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, I know I don't really know you, and but I really don't know what's going on." I'm like, all right, well, what do you mean, man? He's like, well, and the young lady, she's like, she's in the nursery, and there's something wrong. I'm like, what do you mean there's something wrong, brother? And he's like, she's just like, yeah, there's definitely something wrong. I'm like, all right. So I go back there and try to talk to her a little bit. And this might have been like my first or second interaction with something. I think it was at least my second. Because once I got in there and I started talking to her, I kind of got a feel for, all right, well, there's definitely something wrong here. I don't know what it is yet, but there's definitely something.
Was it just like erratic behavior?
Yeah, it was like erratic behavior, like speech, body language, all these things is just like very, very odd. So I was just like, hey, like, do you want me to go get somebody? Maybe we, like pray for you or something like that. And she was like, yes, but then no at the same time. She's like, yes, because I feel like I need to, but then no, because I'm kind of scared of it.
Right.
Which was odd because the girl had been around for a long time. So she knew the gist of the belief system and everything like that.
And you were kind of familiar with her.
I was pretty familiar with her too. Not like really, really close, but familiar enough to where, I knew her name and she knew my name and everything like that. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go get somebody to help you talk you down. Cause I am not qualified to, I can just, talk to you.
Right.
If you need something more,
so you're starting to feel that this is
this is out of my range at this point in time, So I go and I get somebody and I go to the person I think, knows the most. I just go to the pastor and I'm like, hey man, I don't know what's going on, but maybe you need to go back here and talk to this girl. So he goes back there. And he starts talking to her a little bit, and he's just trying to comfort her and everything like that. And he's like, okay, well, and she's like, I just feel like, and of course I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember word for word everything that was said, and I wasn't in the conversation. I was kind of on the outside of it. But the gist of it was, she was just like, I feel wrong. I feel something's wrong. And like, I'm having all these feelings and desires and they don't belong there. And I know they're wrong. And he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to pray for you. Is that okay? She's like, yeah. So he starts praying. And as he's praying, everything just kind of goes, cool, just chill. Everything's fine. And then, because usually, I don't know if you've ever been to a church when they pray for or lay hands on people or whatever, they, everybody just, gets in one mind and one accord and shut their eyes, kind of focus a little bit. Well, so we're all doing that and everything like that. And usually just say your prayer. And once you say your prayer, you just open your eyes and kind of go about your business.
Right.
Well, I got done with my prayer and I opened my eyes and I'm just kind of like watching, like, okay, let's see how this turns out. And then suddenly she just opens her eyes and there's something different there, man. It's something weird. Like, I don't know what it is, but she just starts looking at that pastor who's still like, in the zone praying for her.
Right.
And she's just like staring daggers at him.
It's kind of giving me goosebumps.
With like with intent to hurt. Like that's the look she's given. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. And then eventually, I guess he opens his eyes and he notices it.
Right.
So
he starts catching on.
He just catches on real quick. And he like starts rebuking it. And as soon as he does, man,
that's when shit hits the fan.
It just goes crazy. And he was a big boy, man. He was like 320, probably at least.
Oh, yeah, he was a big dude. Guy then.
And she was like tiny. And she was like 120 pounds. And once he said that, she like leaped and shoved him back like 3 or 4 feet easy.
This is the pastor.
Yeah. And she didn't even touch him. Like he had his hand on her and her getting up shoved him backwards.
Oh, God.
And I want to say he like hit the wall or knocked something down or something. And then that created a kind of a ruckus. And then more people came back there. And there was this one dude there who was literally like a 500-pound bro. Huge dude. And it got, they kept spiritually battling, if you will. Sorry, I just totally spit at you.
No, you're fine.
And
second base, man.
she kind of like chilled out a little bit, but not really. Like in a weird way. Have you ever seen, like, I guess you're a father, right? So have you ever seen those moments where, well, I'm sure you have, you've probably had them, where you've had to like reprimand your child, even if your child didn't necessarily feel like it did the wrong thing, or if it was wrong in a situation. But since you're its father, it backs down. You know, like it still feels like there's still that almost angstiness, you know, but it backs down.
There's definitely aggression.
Yeah. It was very much like that. It's like this thing was, or this young lady who was, in my opinion, possessed by something or oppressed by something was subsiding to an authority, like which, you know, in my faith, the authority is Jesus Christ. So when you're coming with Christ, then it's gotta back off. It doesn't have to like it, but it's gotta back off a little bit. So as things go on, she subs down a little bit, and it starts getting more intense. And the more intense it gets, the more angst it gets, you know, and the more angst it gets, the more it wants to fight back, and so on and so forth. Well, it got to a point to where she started fighting back again, and the big dude, who's like 500 pounds, like kind of had to use all of his might just to get her down. And once he got her like down to where she wasn't trying to hurt the dude anymore, he was like, because he didn't want to hand her or anything, because you know that's not cool. So he kind of just like set his hip on her to some extent, just to keep her from like lunging.
Just put some weight on.
Yeah, just to put some weight on
some
her.
resistance.
And she was still like popping her hips and popping him up, like he was still like going. And
which I can only imagine this dude's probably freaking out.
Yeah, like
I'm sure
he's
this
trying
is
to
something
keep his
he's
cool.
never encountered before.
Yeah, but like anybody in a what would you consider it, a fight or fly moment? Yeah. Anybody in those type of moments, you know, you just try, if you decide, all right, I'm going to fight, there's that, all right, this sucks and it's scary, but we're gonna
your
get
adrenaline
through
starts
it.
pumping, and and any altercation, whether it be just verbal or physical, that adrenaline starts racing, you know.
I mean, I guess this battle, if you will, this spiritual battle, went on for probably like an hour and a half, until eventually the young lady, like she almost completely submitted. Like there was like a breakdown, if you will, like a breakdown happened, like tears and everything like that, to the extent to where she actually like threw up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
so. Is this in the nursery the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it even
it's wild,
creepier.
Because essentially, I mean, if I try to put on my most logical mindset and try to get into that mentality, if you were a spiritual entity that was anti Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit or God, whatever you want to whatever deity you want to put in there, and you were anti that, if you were put in a situation by your host to where you had to be in it, like if you were made to go to a church service because your host went to it, then when everything started going, people are like praising this thing and worshiping this thing that you hate, then you're going to try and find a way to fight back or get away from it or anything. So the nursery was literally in the furthest place from the sanctuary that you could go in that building. So it like went to the furthest area that it could go to get away from it.
To try to get away.
Yeah. Until I guess it stopped. And I mean, once everything happened and everything kind of went down, and like I said, she broke down, she cried, she even threw up, and then it just kind of
almost like it was expelling itself.
Yeah, in a sense,
she was expelling it.
Yeah,
that's so wild, man. So did she ever have any issues after that?
I don't think so. I think that was it after that. Yeah,
it's so weird, man, because you know it seems to be that people of faith tend to be the biggest targets, or people close to people of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, my cousin, who I'm very, very close with, he's like my brother. His mom was dating a guy, and his name was Johnny. Johnny was really cool, but I could always tell he had some sort of darkness. Like I was just telling somebody the story the other day. Like he had something that he carried around with him. Now apparently one night they came home. This is when my cousin still lived with his mom. And she says, you need to go talk to Johnny. Something's not right. He's upstairs in the dark, in the corner, clawing at the floor. And he goes, what? So he goes up there, and he says just the look on his face, he's like he was possessed. He's clawing at the floor. He's speaking in tongues. You know, he just doesn't understand. the way that my aunt described is when he came downstairs, he was pale as a ghost. And they ended up having to call his brother. Now, here's the thing where I told you that, you know, people who are close to faith or close to someone of faith, his brother was a pastor. And it took his brother talking to him. And they don't know what was said. They never went up there again. Not until he came down did they see him again. And everything seemed
kosher at that point.
So, you know, it's really weird. Like, this whole subject is taking place in an infinite universe with absolutely infinite possibilities. So it's, I guess, in the grand scope of things, it doesn't seem that crazy when you think that, you know, really anything is possible.
I mean, it really is, because there's I mean, as a Christian myself, I've heard a lot of people like dispute my faith and everything like that. Like, well, you believe in the Bible? Like, that's crazy stuff that happens in there. I mean, that stuff would have to be like supernatural and everything like that. And it's like, well, yeah. But what says that that we don't live in a possibility of a world where supernatural things happen? I mean, people see ghosts all the time, or they feel like they see ghosts all the time and everything like that. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
I was actually just discussing this with an old friend, and we, you know, we're made up of energy. Everything's made up of energy. It's all vibrating at different frequencies, so on and so forth. And the thing that we were discussing is, it doesn't have to be, to me, faith, you know, I'm not a big religious person. I'm not, because I think religion's and you and I have had this discussion, religion's a group activity.
Yeah. Which we also agree on, because I am of the same mindset. Yeah. I believe that religion is put forth to achieve a goal, and
most definitely, it's not
the goal is not necessarily
righteous goal.
Yeah, but I mean, even the basis of religion. I think I might have said it at the last gathering we had, which is to take care of the widows and take care of the fatherless, and that's like the goal of religion. Yeah. And how many?
Well, in some circles,
that is the good intent of religion.
But to me, and you know, like I've said this before, faith is a personal thing.
Absolutely.
So for a very long time, as a young man, I was actually an atheist, because in my mind, even though I believed in these wild things, infringe things for that matter, I thought the concept of a God was like, because I was looking at it too literally, you know, and I wasn't looking at it for what it could really be. Because, for instance, we often try to put a face on God.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's the biggest mistake.
That you're absolutely right, dude. That is such a mistake. Like, one thing that I crack up every time I hear it is some circles of people of certain beliefs will be like, well, God's a man or God's a woman. I'm like, no, you're both wrong. No. God is not man or woman.
I highly suggest anybody who feels this way to look into a man named Alan Watts. And there's no way that I can encompass all of his philosophies in a short few sentences, but he speaks to the very same thing. But to me, like, since we are all energy, and you can even pull quotes from the Bible where it's, you know, in God's image, we are all energy. If God is energy and he connects every single one of us,
then we are therefore made in his image, as the Bible states.
You can, it doesn't matter what color you are, what race, so on and so forth. A dog could be even the image of God.
Yeah. And in some ways, probably the best image of God that we have.
Depends on who you ask, you know. I'm very much a dog person, so I'm a
dog person.
But the thing is, I very much believe that we are not humans having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience.
I would agree with that.
So after this physical experience is over, we move on. Because, I mean, it's science. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed or transferred or changed or transformed. So where is this energy that we're containing in our bodies right now that literally runs every single movement, every single thought? Where does it go? So I honestly believe we transcend. Now, if you want to call ghosts, that energy. I believe there's a argument for that. But I also believe that there is energy that is negative. And I think that is that area where things like negative entities, like what we would commonly refer to as demons, or if you're Middle Eastern, and some of the Islamic philosophies, they refer to them as the jinn or genie. I think that's where some of that can exist.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm just theorizing.
I mean, in theory, if you break down in theory, then you would have to just break it down in the simplest forms, which is what is darkness without light, or light without darkness.
Absolutely.
Everything is balanced, so you can't have positive without having negative. The trick is trying to find ways to create the balance for it. And I've had many discussions with my cousin, who's I have a couple of cousins who are very. I wouldn't say, 'cause I don't really know if I like the term conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Because if you actually, I almost prefer the term realist.
Okay.
Because conspiracy theorists are, there are some really, really crazy ones, but then some of them if you sit and you think for a minute, well, okay, hold on. And we've had discussions about this as well, where he kind of believes that there's no, because I wouldn't really say that he concrete believes this, but he's like, well, there's definitely argument for it, which is reincarnation. What if, in theory, reincarnation is a thing, and we continue to live lives to continue to learn lessons until we reach a point in time where
we transcend.
Well, so essentially, our spirits just continue to go. That's why, maybe you have a better idea of something than someone else does. Maybe they're only in their third lifetime, and you perhaps could be in your ninth.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier for you. So it's a thing that you just kind of pick up until you get to that almost spiritual enlightenment, if you will, and then it's finally that you can ascend to whatever destiny or deity that is.
I like that.
Is your goal.
And I would actually tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, just this little sidebar real quick. Do you know where the term conspiracy theorist comes from?
No.
It started commonly being used right after the Kennedy assassination
Oh,
as a way to dismiss people who had alternate ideas of what really happened. And I use quotation marks when I say really happened.
You can't see them, but I can.
But yeah, it's almost like calling someone crazy. It's very dismissive.
It's very it's which is I think one of the many reasons I don't like it, because like I said, it's silly to do that, because if you do listen to some of them or some of the thoughts that other people have on certain things, it's if you really take the time to actually, well, I guess if you, well, all right, that kind of makes sense. I can see how that would be a thing. It honestly, to be completely honest with you, people who don't take the time to at least think about things like that, those are the people that really scare me. Honestly, those are the people that I'm worried about. People who say, "Oh, I saw this on the news, so therefore it must be a thing."
Yeah.
No matter what side of the fence they land on, I hate politics, because
it's
to
exhausting
me,
for one.
you got a left wing and a right wing, and my question is, all right, so where's the bird going if neither wing can flap correctly?
That is a good way to look at it, my friend.
But
that's a smart way to look at it. It's still attached to the same bird.
Exactly. So you got people so far on one side that just anything that one side says, they're like, yep, okay. And then you got people on the other side who anything that these people say, yep, that is it. And nobody wants to be like, well, maybe I should just look at it myself.
What if it's meant to keep us thinking that way?
I'm sure it is.
Divided. To keep us from being, from realizing we're all the same bird.
And I'm sure it is. And that's the scariest thing about it to me.
Because what happens when we realize we're one bird, things start changing.
Yeah.
And that just goes far beyond politics,
too. I've had many conversations with people where they're dead set on one idea of thought.
Yeah.
And just one idea of thought. And then I'll be like, okay, that's cool. I can respect your thought, but can you tell me why you think that way? And then it's like deer in a headlight. Well, I think that way because everybody else thinks that
Especially
way.
when
It's
you have
like,
two
ooh, well,
contradicting beliefs.
yeah, it's like you can't. I mean, you can do that, but it's a very dangerous way of living.
Oh, very.
To just like, even like we were talking about religion and everything like that. I've never been the type of person that when I would go to a church, I would listen to a sermon, I would just be like, all right, I heard that sermon, I'm good. I was never that guy.
All right, I'm gravy.
I was the type of guy that would go, all right, I hear what you're saying, but let me look it up and see what I think of
Right.
it and see how I feel about it.
Well,
And then I wouldn't, if I had a different thought, I wouldn't like attack that person for saying that. I was just like, all right, well, that's cool. That's how you see it. But this is how I am.
what's weird is, and I'm very much the type of person who, listen, you can tell me the stove's hot, but I'm not going to know until I touch it at least once or twice. Maybe 3 times, depending on, because it's just who I am.
You gotta, I mean, yeah, you gotta.
I very much learned the hard way.
I mean,
But,
yeah, like I am of the same mindset. I just got to get close enough to know it's hot. Like I don't necessarily have to touch it. I just got to be like, all right, I can feel the heat coming off this. Maybe I'll back away.
You can, and you can relate that to the sermons, like when they talk about righteousness. Like, you can tell me what righteousness is, but I'm not going to know until I experience it myself.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true.
You can tell me what forgiveness is, but
you're
I'm
not
going to know
until you experience forget, until you've honestly, in a lot of ways, until you've had to do it yourself. It's hard to
and
to
as
understand.
you and I, and as part of our past relationship, you know that I know, and I know that you know, and it's weird because when you come to that realization, it's like, wow, it's kind of freeing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a powerful feeling.
Man, it definitely is. Like, unfortunately, speaking of our past, like there's been stuff that I have dealt with that have like weighed me down for a long time, to the point to where I feel like I let opportunities pass me by to where I should have reacted certain ways, but I didn't.
Right.
And kind of had it in my mind that if I ever see that person again, if I ever get an opportunity to, I'm taking their neck home with me, and that is just it. But I've just recently gotten to the point to where I'm like, yeah,
It takes,
you know what, you can keep your neck, man. It's fine.
and
cool.
it's weird. It is very, and that could be a whole another podcast.
Yeah,
itself.
that's shoot me.
But
I'd get a lot of heat for that
yeah,
one.
man, we go on for hours, and I'm sure people will ask, and maybe I'll tell them I don't know. Maybe I'll make them pay for it. Hey, that could be the first,
the first Patreon right there.
First Patreon.
The story of Dustin and Aaron and how we know each other
and how
really
considerably fucked up it is.
It's so
But
incredibly fun.
and as with all good stories, it involves a woman.
Absolutely,
But-
cussing woman.
I
Not a woman who cusses, a cussing woman, because that's gonna be my new thing. I don't know if I told you. I'm just gonna start saying cussing instead of saying the actual cuss words. I'm just gonna say cuss.
Jesus knows what you mean.
He probably does. And I yeah. But that's a whole nother deal too. You want to get me to, if you want to go down the cursing road, we can, because I feel like it is a very, very huge misconception personally.
Swearing?
Yeah.
Let's save it for another fucking podcast.
Okay.
But
Cussing deal right there.
But let's round it out with this. I want to get your opinion on this.
All right.
And this is where we'll kind of finish it out for the day, because I believe they're getting ready to open doors, and it's about to get even noisier.
I'm not even ready. It's the first time I'm not tired all week.
I know.
And
I
cut me off.
gotta throw makeup on and shit. It's just fucking ridiculous. But anyways,
My makeup is so much easier now.
so let's think about this. The concept of time, as it evolves around beliefs like religion and energy and ghosts and the whole nine, but time as we view it is linear as we view it, but time is actually not linear. It's relative. So everything that we think is time is actually happening all at once. So for instance, at this very moment, dinosaurs exist in a different time.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
at
I
the
see what you're
same
saying. I understand what you're saying. I can't remember who told me this or who told me this thought, that the world actually exists like like radio. Like, so everything
Everything's being
is on
broadcast all
radio.
at once.
Everything is a broadcast.
Yes.
It's just different tunes.
Yeah,
Like this is our tune. And then, maybe if you switch it to, we're like 103.5, but if we switch it to like, I don't know, 83.4, then, you can be cavemaning and so on and so forth.
Okay,
and then
that's
if
a good way to
you
explain
go
it.
up to like,
I like that.
75 or whatever, or 1075, let's go with that one. then now suddenly, you in a world that doesn't have, maybe they don't have any religion. It's like freaking Family Guy,
Yeah.
and Stewie and Brian jumping from
reality
so.
time to time, from reality to
Yeah.
reality. Man, oh man.
And
That's
that's
a rabbit hole.
Because then I think the person who told me about that we were talking about like aliens, and their theory was aliens aren't aliens, they're just
really us.
they're just really us, and they're humanoid.
Yeah.
They're just on a different frequency, so they have found a way to worm into other frequencies.
Yeah.
So they just kind of come in for a little bit, and then they go back out, and then that's why we have like flashes and signs and like stuff in the air for a little bit, and then it'll just disappear.
Gone.
And then it's gone for a minute.
So I'll bring that back around to this infinite universe, infinite possibilities. And on that note, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Aaron, thank you for round 2. We may even do a round 3 if somebody actually wants to listen to it. But
Gosh, man, maybe we should just do this.
maybe we should just do this.
should.
Well,
Add a third.
once again, where can they find you?
You can find me on the facial book. Which that's a terrible phrasing.
Yeah, don't.
A Facebook.
You just made this
Let me
X-rated.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. As soon as I said
Oh
it,
my
I
God,
regretted
it's
it.
forever going to be the facial book.
Oh,
from now
God.
on.
Daggone it. That's my legacy. Facebook, just Aaron Williams. Twitter, Planet Williams 1. Instagram is Planet Williams. I have a Pro Wrestling Tees account that I very rarely get any buys on. So if you want to, go buy an
Jump
Aaron
over
Williams t-shirt, that'd be all right.
Throw some support your way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just made facial books, so
That's the next T-shirt.
it's 16.
Well,
I
guys.
have a feeling that that's not going to go over well with my family.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us again. Aaron, thank you as well. And I'm Dustin Reyes, and this was Surreal Days. Jesus.
It's me trying to be funny. That's really good.